You don't really understand the value of time until it's something you might not have left with someone you love. I was on break at the diner, elbow deep in receipts and half a sandwich when my phone buzzed. Tia Rosa's name lit up the screen. I knew right then something was wrong. She never called unless it was about Abuelita. "She's in the hospital," Tia said, voice trembling. "They don't think she'll make it through the night." I didn't hesitate. I threw my apron in the break room sink, grabbed my bag and ran to my car, the same rusted 2004 Civic that needed a jump start every other morning. I didn't care. I had to get to Laredo. 2 hours if I was lucky, and the car held together. The gas light blinked as I merged onto the highway. Of course. My last paycheck had gone to rent and my phone bill. I had $20 in my wallet, and my phone was at 12%. Not ideal. But this wasn't about ideal. This was about family. I thought about Abuelita, how she used to make me huevos con tortillas every morning before school. She never raised her voice. Just worked quietly, steadily, even after my parents died. She deserved better than a hospital, bed and a fading memory. She deserved to know I hadn't forgotten everything she gave me. I pushed harder on the gas. I'd make it. I had to. But about halfway down the interstate, the gas light turned from a warning to a threat. I saw a beat-up Dollar Tree sign glowing through the drizzle, tucked next to a deserted strip mall. It wasn't ideal. It wasn't even safe-looking. But it was open, and I needed that charger. And maybe a miracle. I parked under a busted streetlight that buzzed like a flytrap and cut the engine. My car let out a wheeze like it was grateful for the rest. The parking lot was nearly empty except for a few scattered carts and a beat-up white van parked a little too crooked a few spots over. I made a mental note of it and headed inside. The whiter Dollar Tree smelled like plastic and lemon cleaner. The shelves were thin, scattered. It looked like the store had been forgotten by everyone but people like me, people chasing the last stretch of a broken week. I moved fast. Charger, water, granola bar. That's all I could afford. As I headed to checkout, I noticed the woman behind the counter looked like she'd seen her own share of hard nights. Her name tag read, Darlene, and she scanned my items with the speed of someone who didn't care if the system crashed mid-swipe. "You driving far tonight?" she asked, not looking up. "Laredo," I said. "Family emergency." She nodded slowly. "Keep your doors locked. Folks been acting strange lately." I didn't ask what she meant. I just offered a quiet thank you and stepped back into the misty dark. That's when I saw the van again. It was parked closer now, like too close. My breath hitched as I tried to find my keys. That's when the driver's side opened and someone stepped out. A man in a hoodie. He didn't say anything at first, just walked toward me like he had all the time in the world. I felt the cold air slide under my collar. And then he lunged. "Don't scream," he hissed. His hand clamped around my wrist like a vice, yanking me toward the van. My feet dragged across the asphalt. I smelled engine oil, sweat, something sour. I didn't think. I reacted. The water bottle, cold, slippery in my hand, slammed upward into his jaw. I heard the thud, felt the jerk of his grip loosening. Just enough, I screamed, not some polite cry for help. I howled, raw, throat-ripping terror that echoed through the lot. For a split second, I thought that was it. He'd kill me for making noise, but headlights cut through the mist. A battered pickup screeched to a halt near the entrance. 3 guys jumped out, young, big, wearing oil-stained work shirts and steel-toe boots. "Hey, the hell you doing?" one of them shouted. The man froze. He looked between me and them. Then he shoved me, hard, and bolted back into the van. Tires squealed. The van disappeared into the dark, taillights flickering like evil eyes. I lay on the ground, the cold bleeding into my jeans, my heart racing so hard it hurt. One of the guys helped me sit up. "You okay? Did he hurt you?" I shook my head. 2, dazed to answer. Their names were Javier, Rico, and Leo. Local mechanics finishing a late shift. Regular guys with big hearts and good timing. "You need to wait for the cops," Rico said. "I can't," I whispered. "I have to get to the hospital. My abuelita." Javier was quiet. He reached into his pocket and handed me a small folding knife. "Just in case," he said. It wasn't much, but it felt like armor. I got back in my car, the knife tucked beside the emergency brake, and drove with the kind of focus you only get when you've seen how close darkness can come. The road, blurred under my tires, my hands clutched the wheel like it might fly away. Every shadow felt heavier now. Every headlight behind me made my pulse skip. But I kept driving. I had to. That charger I bought for $1.25 got my phone back to life long enough to check directions. No missed calls. No updates. That scared me more than anything. I didn't cry. Not when the adrenaline wore off. Not when my shoulder started to ache from hitting the pavement. Not when I thought about what could have happened if those guys hadn't shown up. I just kept driving. Because when your whole life has been survival, dead parents, late rent, cheap food, and cheaper odds, you learn to pack away fear like spare clothes. You keep moving. You pray. And you hope someone up there is still listening. The hospital lights looked like salvation when they finally appeared through the haze. I parked crooked and ran inside, not caring about signs or security desks. I found her room by instinct, and there she was, Abuelita, eyes closed, skin pale and thin, but alive, barely. I dropped into the chair beside her and grabbed her hand, whispering promises I wasn't sure I could keep. "I made it," I told her. "I'm here." And for the first time in hours, I let myself breathe. They say you measure life in milestones, birthdays, graduations, weddings. But sometimes life's measured in the quiet moments that come after the storm. Like watching your abuelita sleep while machines beep softly around her. Or sitting in your beat-up car at 3 a.m., staring at a crumpled Dollar Tree receipt like it holds the answers. The charger still worked. The granola bar was half crushed. The knife Javier gave me felt heavier than it should have. I didn't know what would happen tomorrow. The hospital bills, the missed shifts at the diner, the price of gas for the ride home. It all waited for me like a second storm. But tonight, I was still breathing. And that had to be enough. What happened in that parking lot? It didn't define me, but it changed me. Now I check my back seat before I drive. I don't trust white vans. I carry the knife in my backpack. I look over my shoulder a little more often. Not because I'm scared, because I've seen how fast safety can disappear, and because I know no one's coming to save me next time. I survived with $1, a prayer, and a bruised wrist. And the next time the world tries to take something from me, it's gonna find I'm not as easy to drag anymore. It wasn't even supposed to be a long drive. Just a quick shoot in Somersville. Engagement photos for a couple who ghosted me last minute. No call, no explanation. I'd spent gas money I didn't have and all day freezing in the woods with my busted Canon and a thermos of cheap coffee. I hadn't even eaten. Now it was past midnight, and Route 19 was a wall of fog so thick it looked alive. My car, a 2005 Toyota with more rust than paint, shuddered like it was gasping its last breath. The gas light was already on when I hit. The edge of some nowhere town with boarded-up houses and a single flickering sign in the mist. Dollar Tree. It looked like salvation in a graveyard. My stomach growled. I pulled into the lot and killed the engine. My bank account was negative again, but I had exactly $5.12 left on a wrinkled receipt from the ATM. I figured I could grab a pack of ramen, a phone charger, and maybe gum if I was lucky. Inside, the store felt like stepping into a time warp. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like dying bees. The shelves were half-stocked. The air smelled like plastic and dust. And the only people inside were an exhausted older woman behind the counter, Marlene, and a security guard in a folding chair by the entrance. His name tag read Hank, and he looked like he'd seen better decades. I moved through the aisles quickly, tossing my sad haul into a green basket. I was too cold, too tired, and too broke to care about much. Then the bell on the front door jingled, and everything changed. At first, I thought it was some drunk Halloween leftover. A prank. Maybe a viral TikTok stunt. She stumbled in barefoot, the door slamming behind her with a gust of cold fog. Her wedding dress, what was left of it, clung to her like wet gauze. The hem was shredded, the bodice stained dark. Her makeup ran in streaks down her cheeks like she'd cried for hours. In her hand, she gripped a broken champagne bottle like a dagger. No one moved. Not me, not Marlene, not Hank. The woman let out a laugh. High, sharp, almost musical in the worst way. "You ever ruin your whole life in one night?" she slurred. Marlene reached for something under the counter. Hank slowly stood, his hand twitching near his belt, though I didn't see a weapon there. "Ma'am, we're gonna need you to—" "Don't," the bride snapped, raising the bottle. Her knuckles were raw. There was blood on her veil. Something about her felt off, not just drunk, not just angry, broken like something important inside her had snapped. She staggered toward the candy aisle, knocking over a display of peanut brittle, then turned back to face us. "Left my groom at the altar," she spat. "Caught him with my brother. My own damn brother. In the limo." I blinked. Hank shifted closer to the exit. "So I fixed it," she whispered, and smiled. Blood glinted on her teeth. "They won't kiss anyone ever again." I felt the air change in that moment. The fake Christmas decorations hanging overhead didn't sway, but something shifted in the room. Something colder than the fog. I backed into the chip aisle, one hand on my phone like it could save me. But there was no service. Of course. Hank took a cautious step forward. "Let's just talk, all right? Nobody's here to hurt you." She looked at him like he'd insulted her dog. "I did what I had to do," the bride snapped. "You weren't there. You didn't see them laughing." Marlene's face was pale, her hand still hidden under the register. I hoped to God there was a panic button or at least pepper spray. Then Lacey, she hadn't said her name, but I'd come to learn it, locked eyes with me. "You," she hissed. I froze. "You look like her, my maid of honor." Fake smile, always pretending she didn't know, but she did. She let it happen. I shook my head. "I'm not—" She lunged. It happened so fast. 1 second she was 5 feet away. The next she was slamming me into the end cap of cheap greeting cards, pressing the jagged champagne glass to my throat. "You should have stopped me," she screamed. Her breath smelled like stale wine and rage. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. That's when Hank made his move. He tackled her from behind, sending us both sprawling. I heard the glass bottle shatter against the floor. Lacey screamed, this terrible guttural sound, and slashed wildly. Hank yelped. Blood bloomed across his sleeve. Then, bang! The sound split the air. Lacey dropped. Marlene stood behind the counter, a shotgun shaking in her hands, and for a moment the Dollar Tree was silent. The cops came in slow, sirens cutting through the fog like saw blades. They sealed off the store, questioned us for hours. I sat on the curb under a thermal blanket, hands trembling. My ramen spilled in the parking lot. Lacey was dead. So were her groom and her brother, killed in a motel 2 towns over. She'd gone back to the church, then wandered down the road barefoot, in the fog, right into the Dollar Tree. The local news called it the discount store bride murders. It went viral for about a week. Twitter threads, TikToks, true crime podcasts dissected it before her body was cold. People debated if she was mentally ill, or a monster, or both. Nobody talked about how scared I was, about the way her eyes looked before she snapped, about how I still smell her perfume sometimes, cheap gardenia and booze, and feel the glass at my throat. Hank needed stitches. Marlene quit 2 days later. I heard the store shut down for good by the end of the month, but I still see it when I close my eyes. The way that aisle glowed under busted lights, the crunch of shattered glass beneath my boots, the way one decision, a stop for cheap noodles, put me face to face with someone else's horror and made it mine too. I don't talk about that night much. When I do, people always want details. Was she beautiful? Was she crazy? Did you know you were in danger? Of course I knew. The air told me before she even opened her mouth. I stopped freelancing after that. Sold my camera, paid off the overdraft, fees, got a job doing photo IDs at the DMV. Boring, stable, predictable. I still live in the same cold apartment, still fight with my landlord about the heat, but I keep a can of mace in every coat pocket now. I sleep with the hallway light on, and I haven't eaten ramen since. There are moments that split your life in half, before and after. For me, it wasn't a wedding. It was a Dollar Tree, just past midnight, filled with fog and fate. Sometimes surviving isn't about being brave. It's about being there, being in the wrong place and crawling out of it anyway. That night didn't make me stronger. It made me smarter. Monsters don't always hide in shadows. Sometimes they wear dresses. Sometimes they look like people, in pain. And sometimes survival comes not from strength, but from knowing when to run, and who to trust when it matters most. Never underestimate the quiet ones, and never ignore the signs. I used to think rock bottom had a floor. Turns out it's got a basement. That fall, I was working 12-hour shifts at the county rehab center, mostly night work. Bedpans, sponge baths, patients crying out at 3 a.m. The whole deal. My dad had his stroke in July, and everything since had been downhill. The man who used to fry catfish on Sundays couldn't even hold a spoon now. His disability check was processing, which meant nothing. I was covering groceries, meds, and rent with a credit card that was already maxed out. My landlord had left a notice on the door in bright red. Final warning. So when Jasmine offered her old Corolla so I could drop off some food and meds for Dad, I took it. She warned me the brakes squeaked and the gas tank ran funny, but I didn't have room to be picky. There was a flash flood warning that night. I didn't care. I had to get Dad his pills. He only had a few hours before his blood pressure would spike. So I took the back roads to save gas, gravel roads cutting through fields and pine trees. That's when the rain hit. Thick, pounding rain, like God was trying to drown the whole county. The water rose fast. Roads started vanishing. I saw taillights up ahead blink out behind a wall of gray, and that's when I knew I couldn't make it. I saw the green Dollar Tree sign, flickering, like a busted neon promise, only place open, only place lit. I pulled into the lot and sprinted inside, soaked and shaking, not knowing that whatever was following the storm wasn't just thunder and wind. Something else had come through with the rain. The Dollar Tree was worse on the inside. Lights buzzed overhead, half the aisles dimmed like they'd given up trying. The floor stuck to my shoes with every step. The freezer by the back wall wheezed like it was on life support. Only one person behind the counter, Derek, a kid from the tech college who barely looked up when I came in. I grabbed instant noodles, cheap batteries for Dad's TV remote, and a dollar store umbrella that wouldn't survive a sneeze. I didn't need much, just enough to get by until next payday. Thunder cracked again, rattling the glass doors. Derek scanned my stuff slowly. "You probably ain't gonna make it home tonight," he said, tapping the register. They just closed. The bridge on Mason Creek. I cursed under my breath. No bars on my phone. No GPS. Just me, a beater car, and the weight of everything I couldn't afford to lose. I loaded the bags into the passenger seat and slammed the door. The storm had calmed some. A light drizzle now, just enough to make the world look like it, was covered in wet glass. And then I saw it. Him, in the passenger seat, a man soaked through. Gaunt. Wearing a flannel shirt 2 sizes too big, skin gray and eyes empty. Just sitting there, motionless. But I knew. I had locked that door. Before I could scream, his head turned. Slow. Crackling like his bones didn't want to move. And then, in a whisper so quiet I thought I imagined it, he said, "You're late." My legs stopped working. The air felt heavy, thick like soup. I dropped the bags, heart jackhammering. Then I ran. Back toward the store. Toward light, sound, anything human. I slammed through the Dollar Tree doors like a bat out of hell, crashing into a display of Halloween candy and sending plastic pumpkins flying. Derek didn't even flinch. Just looked up from his phone like I'd interrupted a nap. "You good?" he asked. Slow drawl like nothing could surprise him anymore. "There's someone in my car," I panted. In the front seat. He spoke. To me. Derek raised an eyebrow. Locked it? Yes. It was locked, I swear. He didn't laugh, but he didn't exactly look shocked either. Instead, he glanced toward the doors and then toward the side window. Car was empty. No sign of the man. Just rain puddles and the crumpled plastic bag I'd dropped on the pavement. I don't see nobody, Derek said, voice even. You think I'm lying? I snapped. No, ma'am, he said. But strange stuff happens here when the storms come, ain't just tonight. That's when I heard the low chuckle behind me. I turned and saw old man Harris half covered in a trash bag leaning on a cart like he'd been born there. Told ya, he wheezed. He follows the rain, shows up when the water rises. Looking for a ride he never got. Derek looked at the old man, then at me. You sure he talked? Clear as day. He said that same thing to my cousin, Harris muttered. Back in 2004. You're late, then gone like mist. I didn't want to believe it. But the chill in my bones wasn't from the rain. It was something deeper, like fear passed down through generations. I waited in the store until the rain let up, watched the car for movement. Then, gathering every ounce of courage I didn't have, I stepped back outside. The car smelled different. Not bad, just off. Like river water left sitting in a bucket too long. Jasmine's air freshener still swung from the mirror. A pine tree faded to gray, but underneath it was the unmistakable scent of wet earth and something old. Mildewed. I unlocked the doors again, peered inside. Empty. The passenger seat, where he had been sitting. Bone dry. Like he'd never been there at all. But I knew better. I remembered the way his voice sounded, like water dripping into a deep well. The way his neck had twisted, creaking like wet wood under pressure. You don't forget something like that. You don't hallucinate detail. I didn't get home that night. The main road was closed. I spent the night at a 24-hour diner nearby, sipping watery coffee and staring out the window as the rain returned in waves. When I finally got to Dad the next day, he'd already missed his meds. His blood pressure had spiked, and the neighbor had called an ambulance. He was back in the hospital. More bills, more guilt, another crack in the dam. I told Jasmine everything. She didn't laugh, but she did keep the windows down for a week after that. Said the smell wouldn't leave, like something had soaked into the fabric. A few days later, Derek texted me. I quit. Couldn't take the feeling anymore. I asked what he meant. Harris says that guy's been trying to hitch ride since '98. They never found his body after the flood. Vanished on the road just past Mason Creek. I didn't reply. What could I say? Some things don't care if you believe in them. They show up anyway. It's been a year. Every time it rains, I check the back seat twice. Doesn't matter if I'm just driving to Walgreens or heading to work. I lock the doors, keep the windows rolled up, and glance in every mirror like I'm waiting for something to appear. Sometimes I swear I hear it. A whisper. You're late. It happens mostly in October, when the leaves get slick on the roads and the wind carries that smell of wet pine and muddy ditches. Sometimes I'll be driving and feel a weight shift, like someone sat down behind me. Nothing in the mirror. Nothing when I look back. But it's there. I know it. I don't go to that Dollar Tree anymore. Not even during the day. They replaced Derek. Harris still mutters by the dumpster. And I still owe more money than I can count. Dad's in and out of rehab. His meds inconsistent. The bills don't stop. The food stamps don't stretch. Poverty doesn't care that you're scared. It just adds more weight to carry. But I keep going. One day, one shift, 1 week at a time. And I never forget what happened in that parking. The shadow man didn't hurt me. Not really. But he left something behind. A fear that sits with you like mold in your lungs. They say storms wash things away. But sometimes, they bring things back. Things we thought were gone. Things that never really left. I didn't cry when the voicemail came. Not because I wasn't sad, but because I was tired. So deep in your bones tired that feelings took a number and waited in line. Your grandfather had a stroke, my aunt said, voice thick. He's Asking for you. That was it. Just 10 seconds of heartbreak compressed into my cheap prepaid phone. I sat there at the edge of the twin mattress on the floor, still wearing my dollar burger apron, grease spots across the front, my shoes muddy. From the back alley, Mom was asleep in the next room, her breath raspy from a sugar crash. I checked the bank app again. 22 or 17. That had to cover the bus ride to Fresno, snacks, and maybe something for my abuelo, who used to buy me lemon soda and say I was stronger than I looked. I told Mom I was going. She nodded without opening her eyes. "Be safe, baby," she murmured, and I knew she didn't really hear me. By the time I got to the Dollar Tree across from the bus depot in Bakersfield, it was past noon and already hot enough to melt skin. I stepped through the sliding glass, doors into a wave of fake cool air and bitter lemon cleaner. Shelves were half empty, candy melted into wrappers, and the flower section was picked clean except for one bouquet of sad-looking plastic roses. I grabbed off-brand cheese puffs, 2 water bottles, and those flowers. That left me with just enough change for the bus. As I walked to the register, I saw him, creepy Carl, leaning against the window outside. Just like always. A shadow with a human face. I didn't like how he looked at me, and I hadn't even seen the worst of it yet. You ever walk out of a store and just know someone's waiting for you? Not the good kind of waiting. Not your mom with a ride or a friend with a hug. I mean the heavy kind. The kind that makes your stomach sink like a dropped phone in a storm drain. That was Carl. Always there. Hunched like a broken stop sign. Dirty baseball cap pulled low. White tank stained under a wrinkled button-up. Most people ignored him. Manager Rita called him just a loiterer. Said the cops came out last month but couldn't do much. No warrant, no charges, no real threat. Just a guy waiting for a ride that never showed. But Carl didn't look at people the way normal folks did. He stared, unblinking, like he already knew what your fear tasted like. I tried not to meet his eyes as I exited, plastic bag swinging at my side. I was 2 steps out the door when he moved, just enough to block my path. "You need a ride somewhere, sweetheart?" His voice cracked like wet paper. Up close, he smelled like beer and sour breath and something worse, something spoiled. "No," I said, quick, stepping sideways. But he caught my wrist. "Hey!" I yelled, voice sharp. I yanked, but his grip tightened. "Let go of me!" "No, need to be rude now." I didn't think, I just kicked him hard right in the shin. Carl stumbled back with a grunt but didn't release me. In fact, he looked excited, like this was fun for him. And then, like angels on wheels, a blur shot past me. A skateboard flying like a missile, smacked him straight in the back. Carl howled, and that's when I saw them. The teens, the ones always skating out front. 4 of them, 2 boys, 2 girls, all maybe 16, 17, in graphic tees and tattered Vans, hair wild under snapbacks. The same kids Rita always yelled at for loitering and grinding the curb outside. But right now they looked like a SWAT team made of Mountain Dew and bad decisions. "Yo, what is your problem, dude?" One of the boys, tall and skinny with pink shoelaces, skidded to a stop between me and Carl. Carl let go, staggering back. "This ain't your business." "Pretty sure it is, bro." The girl with the green streak in her hair snapped, stepping forward. "You've been creeping here for weeks." The other boy bent down, picked up his skateboard and said, "Get lost before I call my cousin. He's a cop." Carl hissed like an animal, looked from me to them, then backed away. His eyes lingered on me too long. Then he bolted to his rusted gray sedan and peeled out of the lot like a roach under light. I collapsed against the cinder block wall, heart still punching my ribs. The kids gathered around me. "You okay?" Green Street girl asked. Nodded, swallowing hard. "Yeah, I think so. Dude's always out here," said the pink lace guy. "Rita won't call the cops anymore, says they never do anything." "He's tried stuff before," added another. "Mostly freaks people out. But today, that was different." "Thank you," I said, voice cracking. "Seriously, no problem." Green Street gave me a Gatorade from her backpack. "You heading somewhere?" "Fresno. Bus station." "Well, good luck," she said. "We'll keep watch here." I walked off shaking. Not from fear anymore, but from knowing if they hadn't been there, I wouldn't be here to walk away. The bus station smelled like oil and despair. I boarded, with the cheap snacks in one hand and the flowers in the other, my wrist still aching faintly from where Carl grabbed it. It was a long ride, 6 hours and change with no working AC. The hum of the road like a lullaby. I couldn't fall asleep. I got to the hospital just in time. Abuelo was weak, barely awake, but when he saw me, his eyes lit up. Me, Lena. He smiled, and even though my heart cracked wide open, I smiled back. That smile carried me through until the beeping machines went silent. After the funeral, I filed a report with the Bakersfield police. The officer barely looked up as I spoke. "You say he grabbed your wrist but didn't hurt you?" "He tried to drag me to his car," I said. I screamed. He ran. "Was there any physical contact other than the wrist?" I stared at him. "That's not enough? We'll file it, but without a name or plate number and no camera footage." He trailed off, so that was that. No follow-up, no arrest. Just a shrug from the system. I walked out of the station numb. It could have been worse, that's what everyone said. But what they meant was, be grateful you weren't raped or killed. What they didn't say, next time, you might not be so lucky. I bought a can of pepper spray off Amazon that night. Expedited shipping. And every week after work, I brought a couple Gatorades to the kids outside Dollar Tree. Didn't matter if they were skating or sitting around doing nothing. They'd saved me, and no one else seemed to notice. Things didn't get easier. Mom's blood sugar started spiking more often. Her insulin cost more than our rent some months. I picked up extra shifts, dropped one of my classes, and still came up short. I started lying to creditors, telling them checks were in the mail. I stopped answering numbers I didn't recognize. At night, I replayed it all. Carl's breath, the sound of his hand gripping my wrist, the look in his eyes. I thought about what might have happened if those kids hadn't been there. Would someone else have stepped in? Would I be on the news, another headline lost in the scroll? I hated how close I came to vanishing, but I also hated how invisible I still was. No one called to follow up. Not the police, not the hospital, not the system. Just me, the girl who screamed and kept walking. Now, every time I pass that Dollar Tree, fluorescent lights still flickering, same half-stocked shelves, I look for the kids. If I see them, I wave. If I don't, I leave a couple cold drinks near the bench. They know it's me. It's the least I can do. I still don't know what Carl wanted that day, but I know predators don't need a reason. They just need an opportunity, and we keep giving them that. We ignore the loiterers. We look away from the creepy ones. We call girls dramatic when they say they feel unsafe, and when something happens, we ask, why was she alone? The truth is, I was almost a headline, just one cracked taillight or broken camera away. Now I walk faster, carry pepper spray, and never leave the house without knowing my route. It's not safety, but it's survival. And some days, that's enough. They don't tell you how grief rewires your brain. You start measuring days in small decisions, whether you can afford milk, whether the car will make it another week, whether your body will betray you in the checkout line when you realize your card won't go through. Since Dad passed last March, it's been like that. Every day is just survival math. It was late November. Cold. Drizzling. I had $22 in my checking account and a stack of past due notices buried under pizza coupons. My job at the strip mall boutique barely paid enough to cover gas, let alone food. That night, I needed toothpaste, ramen, and maybe a $5 charger if I was lucky. I figured Dollar Tree was my best bet. Walmart felt like a luxury. Lena offered to come with me, even though she had a pharmacology exam the next morning. She's the only one who still checks in, the only one who doesn't flinch when I talk about death or debt. "This place is depressing," she muttered as we walked in. She picked up a dented can of tomato soup and frowned. "You sure you don't want to just hit Walmart?" "Don't have the gas," I replied, faking a laugh. As we walked past the cleaning aisle, I saw him, a man standing near the entrance, Hood pulled up, face sunken, eyes wild. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. He didn't say anything, just stared. I told myself he was just another guy trying to stay warm. Happens a lot in this town. But something about the way he looked at us, like he was choosing, made my stomach knot. I gripped my basket tighter. Just get in. Get out. Don't start trouble. That was the plan. Dollar Tree at night has its own kind of silence. Not peaceful, more like the kind that makes your skin itch. The kind that warns you not to turn around too fast. Ms. Betty was working the register. She's worked there since I was a kid. Always wore her name tag crooked and smelled like menthols and gardenias. She was the kind of person who remembered your dog's name, even if you hadn't seen her in a year. Lena and I unloaded our stuff. On the counter, toothpaste, ramen, 2 cans of beans, and the cheapest off-brand charger they had. Ms. Betty looked over the items, then leaned in like she had something to tell us but didn't want the walls to hear. "Y'all be careful out there," she whispered. "That fella near the door? Been in 3 times today, ain't bought a damn thing." I glanced over my shoulder. He was still there by the seasonal aisle now, half hidden behind some leftover Halloween skeletons. "What's his deal?" Lena asked, lowering her voice. Ms. Betty's lips pressed thin. "Sheriff's been asking about him. Something went down at the Highway Motel last week, real bad." Lena tensed beside me. "What kind of bad?" Betty didn't answer right away. She just scanned our items slowly and said, "Drugs, maybe. Maybe worse. Girls gone missing from that stretch before." I felt my stomach drop. That kind of fear doesn't hit you all at once. It creeps in, like a draft from under a locked door. We paid fast. Lena kept her hand in her hoodie pocket where I knew she kept her keys. The man was watching, still not moving. But something in his eyes had shifted. He wasn't just loitering. He was waiting. The drizzle turned into a cold mist, clinging to my jacket as we pushed the door open. The air smelled like damp concrete and cigarette ash. Our car, Lena's rusted 07 Civic, was parked in the back, near a line of busted shopping carts and a dark dumpster that made my stomach twist just looking at it. "Keys. Now," Lena said. I fumbled in my coat pocket, fingers shaking. I hated how slow I moved when I got scared. My mind screamed, "Hurry, run, move," but my body felt underwater. Then I heard it. The sliding doors hissed open behind us. Footsteps, heavy, deliberate. I didn't dare turn around. "Hey," a voice called out. "Y'all got a lighter?" Lena spun, fast. "Keep walking." The man stopped under a flickering lamppost, hands tucked into the sleeves of his stained hoodie. His smile was wrong, way too wide, like he was amused by something we didn't know yet. I dropped the keys. Lena scooped them up before I could even blink and yanked the passenger door open. "Get in," she snapped. I stumbled into the seat as the man took a step closer. "I just need a favor," he said. His voice was low, scratchy. There was something hungry in it. He pressed a hand to the driver's side window just as Lena slammed her door shut. "Wait, I just need..." She didn't let him finish. Tires squealed as we bolted out of the lot, engine coughing but holding. I looked back just once. He was still there under the streetlight, watching, not chasing. Because he didn't have to chase. He already knew what he was capable of. We didn't say a word until we hit the gas station on Highway 78. Lena pulled into a space under the brightest light she could find. Her hand still gripped the wheel like she was bracing for impact. My breath was shallow. I couldn't stop shaking. I stared at the cold convenience store window, lit up with neon beer signs and lottery posters, and tried to remember why I ever thought Dollar Tree would be a safe bet. "We should call the cops," Lena finally said. Didn't answer right away. "And say what? He didn't do anything." "He followed us," she snapped. "He was waiting. You saw his face." I nodded. "Yeah, I saw." But I also knew what the sheriff would say. No assault, no theft, just a misunderstood man hanging out in the wrong place. He'd be gone before they got there. Still, something had changed in me. Some wall cracked open that night. I didn't just feel vulnerable. I felt hunted. like the world had shifted into something colder, something sharper. We sat there for a while, letting the car idle, the heat barely working. I texted my landlord to ask for one more week on rent. No reply. I checked my account. 11/42ers, that man hadn't laid a finger on me, but I still felt violated. Fear like that gets under your skin. It lingers. It tells you that safety was always an illusion, that you're one broken headlight or missed paycheck, away from being truly alone in the dark, and I believed it. I still do. After that night, I stopped going to Dollar Tree by myself. Lena bought me a keychain-sized pepper spray, and I started paying extra for Walmart delivery, even though it meant overdraft fees. Every time I walked to my car after work, I checked the back seat. Twice. People say nothing happened that night. No police report, no headlines, no blood on the pavement. But something did happen. It's just not the kind of thing you can photograph or explain. It's a shift in the way your heart beats when a stranger gets too close. It's the decision to cross the street, to fake a phone call, to keep your head down even when your gut says look up. That man didn't need to touch me to leave a scar. His presence alone was enough to remind me how little stood between me and danger. It wasn't just him, though. The real weight came after. When I got home and saw the unpaid light bill on the counter, the voicemail from my boss reminding me my hours were being cut. I sat on the floor that night eating ramen I could barely taste, thinking about how tired I was of being afraid. Because it's not just the strangers you fear. It's the rent, the student loans, the hollow ache in your chest when you realize your safety net is made of air. The world doesn't need monsters to break you. Sometimes, it just needs one bad night, a locked door, and not enough gas money to get somewhere safer. Never saw that man again, but I see his shadow everywhere, and now I carry that shadow like a second skin. If Tasha hadn't begged, I wouldn't have been out there at all. She's always the organized one, the reliable one, the nurse in training with 3 planners and color-coded flashcards. But she forgot to pick up gauze and notebooks for our study group's trauma simulations, and somehow that became my problem. I'd just failed my pediatric care midterm, my ex was texting me things I'm trying to forget, and rent was overdue again. But I owed Tasha. She'd covered me last month when I overdrafted my account buying textbooks. So when she tossed me the keys to her old Corolla and begged, I said yes. The storm had rolled in fast. Thick, angry clouds spit rain sideways as I turned off the main road and onto the back way near the swamp. The highway was flooding, and my GPS glitched every time. I hit a curve, the wipers could barely keep up. It felt like the world was being swallowed in gray water. Every part of me wanted to turn around. But there it was. Through the rain like some low-budget lighthouse. The faint green glow of a Dollar Tree sign. The store sat beside an abandoned gas station, both hunched against the downpour like survivors of a forgotten town. I pulled into the mostly empty parking lot, parking under a flickering lamppost. I cut the engine and exhaled. The rain thudded on the roof like fists. It was almost 11:30 p.m., the kind of hour where normal problems bleed into bad ones. Still, I got out. Just grab the stuff and go, I told myself. I didn't know then that some things were waiting outside. Not inside. Some things don't care if you're in a hurry. I rushed inside, slamming the door behind me. The bell above it jangled once, weak and off tune. Inside, the store was freezing. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed like angry insects, casting long shadows over mostly empty shelves. No music played. No other customers. The place smelled like mildew and something burnt. I grabbed a red basket and headed for the first aisle, trying to ignore how every footstep echoed louder than it should have. Bandages, notebooks, cheap pens. Tasha wanted energy drinks too for the overnight cram session none of us were ready for. At the front counter stood an old man in a stained Dollar Tree vest. Mr. Guidry, his name tag said. His white hair was thin and damp like he'd stepped in from the rain. He watched me without blinking. "Storm's getting mean," he said as I walked past. "Yeah," I replied, pretending to scroll my phone even though I had no signal. Roads flood fast in this town, he added, still staring. Ain't no warning when it comes. I didn't respond. I just smiled politely like every woman does when a man says something that sounds halfway like a threat, but probably isn't. When I got to the counter, he rang me up slowly, like he had nowhere else to be. You live around here? No, I said, just passing through. He handed me the bag and paused. You should be gone before midnight. Lot of strange traffic after dark. I half laughed. I'll be quick. He didn't laugh back. The lights flickered as I stepped out. Thunder cracked close, too close, and then behind me I heard it, splashing. Footsteps in the parking lot. Puddles. At first I told myself it was nothing. Maybe Mr. Guidry had come out behind me. Maybe it was just thunder making my nerves jump. But then I turned and saw him. A tall figure soaked to the bone, his hoodie clinging to his frame like wet skin. He didn't speak, didn't run. Just stood there, too close, like he'd been waiting. I froze. He moved fast, too fast for someone his size, and lunged toward the passenger side of Tasha's car. My Dollar Tree bags hit the ground with a soggy thud. I don't remember unlocking the door. I just remember flinging myself into the driver's seat, heart pounding in my throat. His hand slammed against the window as I yanked the door shut. I screamed, loud, desperate, and stomped on the gas. The Corolla jerked forward. I saw him stumble back in the mirror, slipping in the water, but I didn't stop. I didn't check if he followed. I didn't blink until the highway reappeared like a river of black glass in front of me. The wipers smeared more than they cleared. My breath fogged the windshield. My hands trembled so violently I almost missed the turnoff for the diner. The first lights I saw, real lights, warm and yellow, belonged to a 24-hour place called the Hollow Grill. I pulled in crooked, heart racing, like it would never slow down. I was safe. I hoped. The inside of the diner smelled like grease and coffee. I collapsed into a booth by the window, eyes still on the storm outside. The waitress barely blinked when I asked to use their landline. My phone was useless, soaked and flickering. When the deputy arrived, he was built like a retired linebacker, soaked from hat to boots. Name tag read Sergeant Thibodeau. He didn't say much at first, just listened as I told him about the man at the car, how close he got, how fast he moved. When I mentioned the Dollar Tree, something in his face shifted. That stretch of road, he said quietly. Locals call it the Phantom Mile. He pulled out a little notebook, flipped to a worn page. You're the third person this month, he added. Always the same, stormy night, same area, same description, tall man, hoodie, fast. I tried to ask more, but he waved it off. Some folks say it's just a drifter who camps by the bayou. Others say he ain't from here. I don't listen to ghost stories, Miss LeBlanc. But I do know this. People disappear out there. That stuck with me. People disappear. Sergeant Thibodeau gave me a form to fill out and told me to drive safe like it was just another Thursday night. I didn't eat my fries, just sat there staring at the ruined contents of the Dollar Tree bag, scattered across the passenger seat. Gauze soaked in rain, notebooks warped and curling. I never drove that road again. Even weeks later, I still think about that night. Not every night, just the quiet ones. The kind where thunder grumbles low in the sky and the windows rattle in their frames. I'll be studying or folding laundry, and I'll remember the hand on the window. The blank eyes. The weight of fear so deep, it felt like drowning. I didn't tell Tasha everything, just said the car got stuck and the store flooded. She didn't ask much. She never does when I get that quiet. But I know I changed that night. Now I always keep a flashlight in my bag, a can of pepper spray in the glove box. I stopped answering my ex's messages, blocked him. I sleep with the porch light on no matter the bill. People talk like trauma always explodes, but sometimes it settles instead. Quiet, heavy, like fog in the bones. I still have that Dollar Tree receipt. It's faded and crumpled, stuffed between pages of my pharmacology textbook. Every now and then, I find it and trace the line where Mr. Guidry wrote, "Be safe under the total." I don't know what I saw, Don't know if he was real or something else. Maybe just a desperate man. Maybe not. But I do know this. The roads don't forget, especially the ones by the bayou, especially at night. And if you ever find yourself driving past a closed-down gas station and a flickering green sign in the rain, don't stop. No matter how lost you feel, don't stop. There's hot, and then there's New Mexico hot, the kind that cooks you from the bones out. On July 28, 2023, the digital sign outside the gas station blinked 115 degrees, but inside the Dollar Tree, it was somehow worse. The AC had been busted for a week. Management wouldn't fix it. Corporate said to use fans. There were no fans, just sweat, plastic, and the smell of microwaved taquitos from the break room. I was 19, stuck working 8-hour shifts in a green apron, trying to scrape enough money together to keep the lights on and cover my mom's insulin. She's been diabetic since I was in middle school. Dialysis every Thursday. Medicaid barely touched it. My ex kept texting me. My car, the Corolla with the duct-taped bumper, kept slipping into neutral at stop signs. And I'd already been written up twice for tone, whatever that means. Only bright spot was Jenna, new girl. Brown curls, chipped nail polish, laughed like it didn't belong in a place like this, way out of my league. But she was nice. She talked to me like I was human. Then they hired Elias. He showed up 2 minutes early in black jeans and a white polo, hair slicked back like a villain from an 80s movie. Skinny, twitchy, and always smiling like he knew something gross. First day, he rearranged the candy aisle for better flow without asking. Then he hummed Ring Around the Rosie under his breath for hours. Later that week, I watched him eat a raw Slim Jim, plastic and all. He caught me staring. The casing's the best part, he said, mouth half full. Texture. I should have said something. Should have told Manny, our assistant manager, but I didn't, and it only got worse from there. Elias didn't just act weird, he made the store feel wrong. He started coming in early, staying late. Said he liked the quiet energy after close. More than once I found him just standing in the seasonal aisle staring at pool noodles. The guy didn't sweat. We all looked like wet towels, but Elias, dry as bones. Always reeking of something burnt, like old oil and meat left out in the sun. Jenna started avoiding him. She caught him watching her stock the greeting cards, not talking, just watching. I confronted him once, said he needed to back off. He just smiled, said, "Some people have softer skin than others." Whatever that meant. Things started disappearing. Raw, chicken from the frozen section, bacon bits, a bag of those weird soy meatballs. The break room microwave stank. Then I found chicken skin in the trash. Not cooked, not packaged. Just flesh. I gagged. Elias walked in, sucking on his fingers. "Texture therapy," he said. "Like peeling glue off your hands, didn't you do that as a kid?" I told Manny. He laughed it off, said he'd seen worse in the army, told me to grow a spine. One night, I closed alone with Elias and Manny. Jenna had left early. Migraine or some excuse that probably wasn't an excuse. It was quiet. Too quiet. The air smelled thick. I was finishing the soda restock when the lights flickered, then cut out entirely. Power outage. Not uncommon. The heat had the whole grid on edge. I pulled out my flashlight. Then I heard it. Wet, squishy sounds. Coming from aisle 7, cleaning supplies, where Manny had been. It's one thing to hear something horrible. It's another to see it. I rounded the corner with my flashlight beam shaking like crazy. The beam landed on something that didn't make sense at first. Just a shape, hunched over like a customer picking out bleach. Then I saw the blood, and Manny's legs, twitching slightly like a dying insect. And Elias, kneeling over him, his hands were inside Manny's neck, fingers working like he was scooping something out, peeling. I froze. My brain stopped being useful. It just screamed, "Get out." Elias looked up. His face was glossy, covered in blood. And between his teeth, Manny's cheek, he smiled. "You ever notice," he said, lips slick, "how people peel just like oranges?" Something snapped in me. I didn't think. Just grabbed the nearest thing, a ceramic garden gnome from the summer clearance shelf, and smashed it over his head. He reeled back. I ran, out the store, into the heat. The air was suffocating, but I couldn't stop. My legs were jelly. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I hit the Corolla's door, jammed in the key. Nothing. No ignition. Elias had siphoned the gas. Of course he had. Behind me, the door slammed open. I heard him coming. I screamed for help. That's when I saw the lights. An old Peterbilt truck, air brakes screaming, pulled into the lot like a guardian angel. The driver saw my face, saw the blood. He called 911. I collapsed by his tire. I didn't even feel safe. Not really. Not anymore. They found Elias in the freezer aisle. He was calm when they arrested him, smiling, humming. He didn't resist, didn't run. Just stood there, swaying slightly, wearing Manny's skin like a scarf. They said he'd peeled it off with box cutters. No one had seen it coming. No priors, no psych record. Just a temp from a job agency in Albuquerque. His references were fake. His ID was fake. It's like he stepped out of the desert. The local news did a 2-minute segment, called it a workplace tragedy. Dollar Tree stayed open. Jenna quit the next morning, texted me one word. Sorry, I don't blame her. My mom missed her dialysis because I didn't get off in time. Medicaid flagged her for non-compliance. She lost her coverage. I spent the next week trying to get a social worker on the phone. I sold my PS4 to pay for her insulin. Corporate sent us a counselor. One day, told us to focus on resilience. Then they gave us a 15% employee discount coupon. I still work there. I can't afford not to. The new guy they hired to replace Elias? He's nice enough. Quiet. But sometimes when I pass the freezer aisle late at night, I swear I see skin shift on the floor. I keep a box cutter in my sock now, just in case. People ask why I didn't quit. Like it's that simple. Like I had options, but life doesn't stop just because something awful happens. Rent still climbs. Medical bills still collect. Groceries don't discount themselves. I kept working because that's what you do when you're poor and stuck. You clock in no matter what. Some nights I dream about Elias, the way he moved, the way he grinned. I dream about peeling. I don't talk about it. People already look at me like I'm broken. But I know this much. Horror doesn't always show up in fangs or claws. Sometimes it wears a name tag. Sometimes it whistles nursery rhymes. Sometimes it clocks in 5 minutes early. And sometimes it gets promoted. The Dollar Tree still stands, still sells greeting cards and off-brand cereal. And I still walk past aisle 7 every damn shift. It's quiet now, but I watch, just in case. Because next time, it could be me someone tries to peel. Real horror isn't just monsters. It's the systems that keep you in place after the monsters leave. When survival costs everything, even your sanity, sometimes the scariest thing is knowing you'll still go back the next day. Not because you're brave, but because you have no choice.